Coast to coast, border to border, and around the world, it's time for The Bill Alexander Show. The Bill Alexander Show is a guest-driven program where the topics are diverse and entertaining. Laugh and learn while you listen to one of the best hours of online radio. Now, here's your host, Bill Alexander.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to this edition of The Bill Alexander Show with yours truly, William Eric Alexander. All my friends call me Bill. It's so nice to have you with me. And tonight we go back 2 years ago. Well, actually, we're redoing the interview from 2 years ago, I should say. And tonight I have Amy Kahn back on the program with me. Amy, how are you doing this evening?
Hello, I'm good. I'm great. Thank you. I'm glad to be back. I can't believe it's been 2 years.
2 years.
Time flies, man.
A lot has gone on in the last 2 years.
Indeed.
From last year, there was a writer's strike, an actor's strike. Now we're in the 2024 election cycle.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot happening. So what have you been up to?
Oh, nothing much.
Really? Nothing at all, huh?
Nothing really. Just, chilling, figuring things out. No, I've since the last time we've spoken, yes, a lot of important things in people's lives and humanity has happened. We are living through historical times, my friend, whether we like it or not. I'd rather learn about it in the future than actually be living it sometimes, but c'est la vie, we do our best. So we had a writer's strike and a SAG after strike, might have heard about it last year. And my colleagues and friends and I were out there protesting. I've gotten a lot of steps in the past 2 years for protesting for a lot of reasons. And I'm grateful for that freedom of expression, being able to do that as a right. But it's unfortunate we have to be doing it at all. And we learned a lot about my passion is not just in the arts, but in human rights and activism. And I think that goes hand in hand with artists, especially if you have even a little bit of a platform. And so, yeah, it's any questions about that, because I have a lot to say.
Well, if anybody follows you on Facebook, they can see that you've been delving into the political realm, especially since Kamala Harris has joined this election, which happened 9 weeks ago, which is hard to believe it's been that short of a period of time.
Truly. Absolutely.
And with everything else going on, you've been very vocal about who you're supporting as a candidate. Yes.
I think that it's important to look at all the facts. And I'm always going to be for humanity. I'm always going to be on the side of human rights for all people and equality for all people globally. That's just in my passion of bringing, I think arts and humanity come hand in hand. They have for centuries, and we're in the new age of that, where you have every right to be vocal. You have every right to express your opinion and your own opinions of yourself or your experiences, personal journeys. But it's gotten to the point where the ethics is not there. And I have a problem with that as a part of the human race that I'm a part of. So yeah, I've been very vocal. I'm very grateful I have a voice that I can do that with. I was taught by a very strong woman to always speak your mind, and I appreciate and love that. Because we're human beings and we have opinions for a reason. So we're here to talk about that. Again, I love respecting other people's opinions and having actual civil debates and actual good conversations. But there's a lot at stake right now, and it's more than just politics. It's ethics on the line. It's standards, it's morals, it's neighbors. And so, yeah, I'm going to lean towards the person who actually believes in that and shows that with their actions more than the people who don't.
2 years ago, we mentioned the 2016 election.
Yes.
And we talked about that and how we never thought that something like this could happen again with this individual running for president again.
Right.
Is it surprising you that there's still a part of the American population that wants to see him in the White House?
The part of humanity side, yes, it's dumbfounding. Excuse me, my dog is walking on our wood floor, so I'm sorry for the audio.
That's okay.
Speaking her opinion. She speaks loudly too. I'm dumbfounded every day, honestly. I think the best example of what we are living in is really a reality show for aliens somewhere, and they're having entertainment because that makes more sense to me, my friend, than it does of the actual reality. And there's a reason like Veep, the TV show, had to stop because they even in West Wing too is not coming back because
Right.
there's just too much, excuse my French, but shit happening that is too real in real life to have even a parody of anything, right? Um, yeah, I'm ashamed of our country that we have people that think humans shouldn't have human rights in general, and that they're better than other people just because of race and identity. Like that's it's bullshit. And I will not tolerate racism. I will not tolerate willful ignorance. Ignorance is one thing you can learn from and grow from and hopefully do better in time with experience and life experience. But willful ignorance is based, I think, a lot in mental health issue that we do not have healthcare for, proper healthcare for. And it's a lot of deep-seated racism and bigotry that is a big part of our history of this country. I mean, we have to learn accurate history to acknowledge what has happened in the past, to understand ourselves, to move forward into the future progressively, and to help all people who are here, not just the small and few that look a certain way or act a certain way.
With the election coming up within, what is it, 6 weeks, 7 weeks now, which is hard to believe.
I can't
It's
believe
coming
I
up
know.
so quickly.
It really is.
It's coming up real fast. We're seeing a lot of people questioning which side of the fence they're going on. And after a debate last week, I
Mhm.
watched.
I
I
did too.
watched the whole thing and I was yelling at the TV probably like
Oh
everybody
yeah.
else was.
We taped our
And
podcast while doing it because we were like, we're going to be yelling. We have to document it.
I wish I would have thought of that, but it was too late at the time and I
Sure.
wasn't able to do it. But I wish I would have thought of it because I cannot believe in this day and age
Hmm.
that a grown man in his late 70s, almost 80 years old, is standing there making up lies and
And
no
not just
one
just
is
lies,
questioning it.
racist lies about fellow Americans that are directly hurting their lives. Like to me, it's another form of inciting violence by this individual's choice of words, choice of actions, and thinking he's not going to get away with it because he's not, because there's no accountability, there's no consequences. He is convicted of how many felons and as a
34.
rapist, and yet that's not enough either. And
But
so
I
you
don't
have to look at
understand
them and
it.
be like, okay, well, I only saw one person actually debating on that stage,
Right.
and she's the most credible person, period, because of her personal work experience over how many years and in the current title and office she has right now.
Right.
And honestly, it's amazing that we're seeing another opportunity of a woman candidate. Okay, this is historical, period. Let alone everything else jumbled into it of reality. And that's something to be proud about. That's something to be excited about. We need change, but we need good change for all. Again, not just for the few.
I heard an interview yesterday with one of the supporters who supposedly is on the fence.
Mm-hmm.
And they asked him about voting for a woman. And he
Hmm.
made a comment that he said he doesn't think he could see a woman running a country. And of course, I yelled at the TV and I'm going, let's go look at Great Britain. Let's go look at Germany.
Thank you.
Let's start looking at other places who have
Right.
had women running a country in the past. So I don't understand what the reluctance is. It's 2024, for goodness sakes.
Yeah.
And
21st century. We're not,
it,
we're in the 21st century now,
and
people.
it's not at the beginning of the 21st century. We're a good
No.
ways into it.
Yep.
And you would
Yep.
assume with all the politics we've had up until this point, we have been getting ready to finally have a woman president, which again, I don't like distinguishing between male, female,
Sure. Yeah. I
blue,
mean, it really
green,
doesn't
black,
matter
white,
at the end of
whatever
the
it is.
day.
It doesn't
Right.
make a difference to
Right.
me.
Ditto.
But this is the time in our history. Do you think that this is the time that she is going to be able to make it and she's going to do what Hillary wasn't able to do?
from the energy I feel, honestly, from not just, I mean, I know I'm in California and it's blue all the way, mostly. But there's an energy across the nation. I have a lot of friends and family in different states, some in the Midwest, some in the South. And it's just, there's so much positive energy. There's joy. There's energy for her. And I think Tim Walz is also a really good balance of showing that side of what maybe more people on Trump's side would want to see, another man, Midwesterner, a coach, he's a real family guy, literally. And he's also done the job of governor and senator. And now he's on the way to vice president. So I think that's a good team. And I think it's a smart strategy choice as well. But it's authentic and you can feel it. You can feel authenticity. I mean, yes, they're politicians. We know how politicians can be, especially as greed and power corrupts. But we have to give the benefit of the doubt. And compared to the other candidate, it's a no-brainer. So I do think she has more of a chance than Hillary did back in 2016. But I still have a little wound where, and many people do. My boyfriend and I were just talking about it as well, because he feels the same, where it's like, oh, I just don't want to get all my hopes up though, because what if that abusive boyfriend situation happens again, right? Where like I feel like I'm gonna hit again. It's terrible, but it's true and it's fact, because we have all hurt from that time frame, and we've seen the repercussions of that happening over time with that administration, and then now thinking we could possibly have that again. Oh, it's scary. It's scary, but I do have hope. I am doing my best. Like, we are doing a production. A friend of mine is directing a show in LA called The Mighty Four. Come out on the 29th if you're in the area. And it's in fundraising for Harris Walz campaign. It's gonna have Gene Smart and a lot of different amazing actors a part of it as a stage reading. So I see a lot of things happening for this cause, and it gets a lot of us excited. So I would say I feel 85% very positive about her possibly landsliding. But we'll see what history brings. And with everything happening, even with his possible second assassination attempt now, and it's just, people are tired and exhausted of all that negativity and all that hate and all that, like just that heaviness. We've gone through a global pandemic. We've gone through a lot as humanity, and continually doing so over and over and over again. It feels like we're done with unprecedented days. I want it to just be a normal vibe again. We all do. We want to live peacefully. We want to help each other, neighbors to neighbors. I like that. I want to know my neighbors. I want to get to know different people and cultures and show that it's not scary. It's actually beautiful to know different types of people in your life. But also that's not going away, because humans are humans and they're here to stay. So you have to find that medium ground and coexist with each other. And I think she would be the one to do that for sure.
Have you talked to any Trump supporters and asking them why?
Not in person as much lately, but on the internet, I have a lot of dialogue, a lot of comment. I believe in freedom of speech. I may not really agree with your hate speech or freedom of speech per se, because hate speech is not freedom of speech, but I want to hear why and how you feel that way. And 99% of the time, it's all racism and willful ignorance. So how do we change that? What's the real solutions? We need to showcase, like the person you just asked the other day, I don't see her being like a woman being a president. Well, yeah, I believe him. I haven't seen that either. None of us have in the United States. So some of us who don't have imaginations or can't somehow put ourselves in other people's shoes, we can imagine that, because we've seen it on TV. At least we've seen it in other countries, like you just said, throughout history, centuries of history. Women have been leaders, and they prove it all the time that they can do it, because it doesn't matter what your gender is. It's about, if you can do the job well, you deserve that job then. And so yeah, I'm flabbergasted, just as many people are, but I'm also pushing when I talk to people like that to try to understand. But at the end of the day, it really does come down to a lot of bigotry and hatred and racism that they've been taught over and over, and they're not willing to get out of, because it's a willful choice too. Willful ignorance is a choice. And so I think educating people and changing, we have to change our culture. We have to change, like, not culture as in all 90-degree culture. I'm talking about putting more people who actually represent the people
Right.
and representing, because that's the job. They're supposed to be representing us, the tax-paying citizens, the humans of this soil. Like, why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't we have more people? We've had so much of just the same thing over and over for how many years of white old men? And
Yes.
it's not acceptable in the 21st century. We have to adapt to new times. We have to update ourselves and our laws and our amendments and all this, because it's a living, breathing document, as we know, and people in life is changing all the time. So we have to update. It's time to update.
When you talk about the old white men that are in charge, and now within the last 2 to 3 years, you lost Roe v. Wade.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about reproductive rights now. We're talking about all this, and these guys who should have no input whatsoever are changing the rules.
Mm-hmm. It
Do you
pisses me
think-
off.
Well,
I'll be honest.
I'm glad it does. It does me too. Do
I
you
mean,
feel
sorry,
that
go ahead.
do you feel that the population of a lot of the conservative states,
Mm-hmm.
it's not that they agree with it, it's because of the situation they're in, because someone in the household agrees that way and they feel that they have to agree the same way they do?
Oh, yes. I definitely think that there are a lot of those situation stories happening. I just read a little meme the other day of saying, there's a reason why grandma and grandpa didn't get a divorce during the old days. It wasn't because they didn't want to. It's because the woman couldn't even own a credit card until 1974, I believe. Yeah,
Somewhere
they
around there,
couldn't,
yeah.
they everything was under the husband, under the law of the husband. The wife was property, literally. I mean, that's been contracts. I believe in love, obviously. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about falling in love with somebody and getting married. Not talking about that. I'm talking about the property aspect and historical aspect of what marriages were for a long time. And even today, that mentality is very
Still there.
real, unfortunately. It's not logical. It doesn't make any sense because it's not logical, but it's taught. And it's been taught for decades. But now that it's one thing if that's truly what you believe and you want to have that type of relationship, that's your choice. But you don't get to dictate other people's lives and other people's bodies because you disagree and want it a certain way. That's not democracy, literally, by definition. Like, we need to relearn these words of what these definitions are, because people keep changing and wanting to change words and their definitions, and that's ludicrous. That's not how it works.
But going back on what you said about
Yes.
needing to change these things, there are people that are just happy the way things are, or they want to go back 50 years ago because they don't have to worry about these issues. These are issues that were bedroom issues. These are issues that were swept under the rug. These are issues that we didn't talk about. We knew they were there, but we didn't address them. And I think there's a good portion of the population that would rather say, okay, we're not going to talk about this anymore, and we're just going to move forward. And that's why I think they want Trump in office, is because they don't want to have to deal with these issues in 2024, 2025. And that leads me up to the whole Project 2025, which is just downright scary. But people don't see it that way. People just see it as a bunch of words on a piece of paper and don't realize that if it is enforced, we're in more trouble then than we are now.
The hypocrisy is astounding to me, because they fight about and talk about how they don't want a certain way of living and the government in their lives, and et cetera, et cetera. And yet that's exactly what they're doing with Project 2025. Exactly. And I've had a lot of people online be like, well, Trump's not a part of that. He said so. And I asked them, so you believe him after all the lies still? Like, again, actions speak louder than words, people. Actions speak louder than words. Actions over time and over and over and over and over again, showing you, that person will show you who they truly are by their actions, especially if it's consistent behavior. And it's been consistent behavior for decades, especially the past couple ones. So I look at them that they're in denial. They are scared of change, even though change can be good and change is constant. It's the one thing that is actually constant is change. And if it benefits everyone, that's what we have to do, the safety and benefit of others, not just yourself. We live in a very selfish, narcissistic mindset in this nation, in this world in general, but in this culture especially. And it's time to update that as well, where mental health care on every store, instead of a Starbucks, we would have a lot more people healthier, communicating better, understanding things better. But also consequences. You don't get to be racist and get away with shit. You don't get to be a domestic violent abuser and just walk away from it. I just saw a video on TikTok. And again, I've never been a fan of TikTok. Not that it's bad, it just hasn't appealed to me. But there's a lot of educational videos or caught in action videos that I think that tool of being able to help people with is really remarkable. And I give credit for that. But I just saw a video of this man just yelling at his wife and child in a restaurant and like abusively, and no one did a thing, because of course you want to be safe about it for their part, but then nobody was calling the police. They were filming it to catch it, which good on them for that. But the culture was just, well, mind your own business, don't talk about it. And that never helps it. That gets people killed or hurt. We have to talk about the hard things. We have to connect and communicate with the really, really hard things to, one, better understand it, two, better understand each other. But that's how you get through it. You have to do the work. You have to do the hard stuff to get through it. And I think you're right. A lot of people don't want to do the hard stuff and deal with the hard stuff, which is a lot on them and their own issues personally. So they want a leader that will just take care of it for them. But that's not reality. That's not how it works. And it's not good for the whole country. That's only good for some people.
It's just a situation. I never thought I would see society the way society is today.
Ditto. No, I'm blown. My mind is blown every morning where I'm like, what today? You know,
Yeah.
like
What norm is going to be broken?
right.
I grew up in the 70s, the 80s, and then everyone after that.
Sure.
And I do not remember society being the way it was. I remember society having more respect. I remember society, there were rights and there were wrongs.
Yep.
There were not people lying left and right. There were not people that were yelling vulgarities at each other in the public or wearing
Yeah.
t-shirts with vulgarities on them and everything else. And I'm going, as soon as that happened, we started to notice a decline in the way society acts.
Right.
Because if we have no expectation, we're not going to live like we have an expectation.
Right.
Because we used to, you would dress when you went out somewhere. You would dress
I
when
miss
you
that.
went to visit friends. I mean, you would dress when you went to work. And I'm talking about, you would get dressed up for most jobs. You get dressed up for most occasions.
Right.
Today, we don't see it. We see people walking around a Walmart in pajama bottoms and they feel it's okay. Or we're seeing people wearing next to nothing walking through Walmart and they have no pride or respect for themselves because they just think it's the way it's supposed to be. Where did society make this complete right turn to get off the rails to do that? I mean, we could go back and say, okay, 2016 had something to do with it.
Sure.
But,
It
we
didn't
can go
happen
back
just
further
overnight,
than
though.
that.
It
Right.
I totally understand what you're saying, and I agree that I think it was a domino effect of new technology changing culture and society with social media, the way it's become. I think it's obviously definitely politics and ethics through 2016 administration. And just it feels like the floodgates were open to just be who you are, even if it's horrible. We don't care. It's
Right.
your life. You get the right to just do whatever the fuck you want to do.
And
You don't. There's rules and regulations and laws for a reason, for safety
but
of everyone, type of thing. And yet, same thing with expression. Like, yeah, you should be able to express yourself, but in certain situations, like you want to express yourself and take off all your clothes in the middle of day in traffic. No, you don't get to do that because that's public indecency. That's not the place to do it. But you can go to other places that would allow that, like nudist beaches or whatever, and
right.
enjoy yourself. You know, so it's like that. The guardrails of society have literally fallen off where there aren't any guardrails. We can't. The man said, "Grab him by the,"
Right.
and he's still able to do everything he was able. My dog just touched the camera.
That's
Sorry.
okay.
But he was still able to do everything he was able to do. Like I still, anytimes like, why don't you like him? I go back and say that quote, because it's a quote, a direct quote, and that to me tells me that America and just society in general, and there's a whole another conversation, another podcast episode, but the anger and hate towards women, especially in today's world, just because, and that goes also to different genders as well, but and sexual identities, of course, but just one moment looking at women, especially from that quote, people don't care that he said that he did that, and
Well,
other things.
when
That
you
says a
go
lot
back to
about
it,
culture and society.
how are they justifying? It's locker room talk. It's
Right.
what guys
Boys will
talk
be
about.
boys, quote unquote.
But
Like
but
no
going back
accountability.
to it, but it was said on national TV. It was said in the middle of an interview. It
Yeah.
wasn't in a locker room. If it was in a locker room,
Exactly.
we wouldn't know about it.
Excuses. They're just
And-
excuses.
And that's the other thing going back to, you can hear a kid that's 12, 13 years old and say, fuck this and fuck that.
Mhm.
And we don't think anything about it anymore.
Right.
I
It's
was-
funny, maybe. Like
it
it
was
used to be
funny,
on
it
a
was
parody or
humorous.
comedy, be like, oh my God, a kid just said that.
Right. But the thing
yeah.
is, to this day, because of the way I was raised and because of the line of work I went into, I still don't feel comfortable saying it.
Sure.
Because it's something that a lot of people say that it's forced, it's not being done. As someone told me, they're in sentence enhancers, which I'm going, okay, I can justify it as someone trying to punch up a sentence. I get that.
Sure.
But there's no reason to use it at all unless you're in that type of situation where a group of people are doing it and that's the way they talk. But
Sure.
other in
Yeah.
regular
there's
society, there's
Yeah.
no use for it. And just the vulgarities. I'm seeing bumper stickers now. I'm seeing t-shirts now. I'm
Mhm.
seeing the one that really bothered me, and I know Trump supporters that thought it was hilarious, is at the convention, there were people wearing Joe and the Ho t-shirts.
Wow. Yeah,
And
I
I'm
didn't see
thinking,
those. I
I'm
didn't watch it
thinking,
though, but yeah.
wait a minute, that's not appropriate.
But that's what I'm saying. Thank you for saying that and speaking out on that though, because that's exactly what we need to do is speak out on things that exactly like that. That
But-
is something that's racist. That's not just also vulgarity. It's purposefully putting a woman down, literally connected to her race as well as just her sleeping her way to the top, because of
The
course
top,
she couldn't
which-
just do it herself because she dated
Ex-
the mayor, like the stories just go on, and it's like she said, it's the same playbook, it's the same old playbook that's been going on for decades, and we're tired of it. Majority of people are tired of that excuse me, but shit. And
It
you have
is.
to use those words when they're real, because this is all shit. It's unacceptable and it needs to move forward. It's like, just go to an island somewhere, get off the grid, don't use public transportation or infrastructure, and go live your life if you want to be a hateful, miserable person. But you don't get to do it to other people, especially when they're innocent and their lives are starting to get hurt because of your rhetoric and your violent speeches. It's unacceptable.
I know that the one group that's getting affected right now that finally thought they were coming out in the light in 2022, 2023, and that's the LGBTQ plus
Mhm.
group of people, because it looked like they were moving forward.
Right.
And
They
then
were
all-
mostly. Yeah. The
And
community
then all of a
was.
sudden it's been slapped, because now they're
Mhm.
having rights taken away from them.
Yeah.
They're having situations where they're not able to marriage in some states now it looks like it's going to be banned again.
Right. Right.
And there's just things that I hate to say this way. I
Sure.
don't want to say we allowed them to do it, but they got the right to do it,
Mhm.
because in my opinion, it doesn't make a difference to me what you do.
Right.
As long as you're a
Humans
good
are humans.
person and you're
Mhm.
and you do that, you can do whatever else you want in your own
Yeah.
privacy of your own home. I don't care.
Sure.
But there's so many people out there that care, because they feel that that's ruining the moral fabric of this country, because
Right.
people are being, I don't want to, I'll use the word deviant, because they
Yeah.
feel that it's wrong. And I'm
Right.
thinking, you can go out and drink every Sunday watching a football game, and I may not agree with that, but
Sure.
yet you can do it, and I'm not stopping you. So
You're
why are you
a
stopping someone else
consensual
doing something they
adult.
enjoy?
Right.
Exactly.
Well, because
So
it's control. Again, it comes down to control. It comes down to, like you said, moral values. Well, again, actions speak louder than words. Just because you think you're doing something morally right doesn't mean that you actually are. You're hurting. If you're hurting people and hurting, I'm not saying just physically, but it is physical and emotional and mental. You're taking away people's rights. It's not that we just got it. We had it. Just as Roe v. Wade, we had that right.
right.
And those ignorant people that wanted it away, took it from us. They are taking rights, human rights, away for humans, and not only just humans, but, as that should just be important enough, but tax-paying citizens of this country, and telling them how to live their lives and what to do and what not to do. And that goes against everything what this country is supposed to be about. And so there's a lot of hypocrisy. There's a lot of hypocrites that are not allowing themselves to see how big of a hypocrite they really are. I mean, and then how far do we go with that? Does that go back to now we can't have a black and white person getting married?
Right.
For, like, are you kidding me? This is not your business. It's not your business. Your business is your business. Like you say, don't mind your own business. Why are you not, like, it's over and over again. You say what I do, what I say, not what I do.
Well, I do.
I'm getting flabbergasted. I'm passionate about this. Can you tell? But yeah, again, it comes down to, you may not agree with their lifestyles or choices. Same with abortions. But your opinion is just an opinion. It doesn't equate fact just because you have an opinion. You have to have credible sources, multiple sources, and science to back it up. But with this, especially, you're going against people's human rights. And that they have had for a while. That's unacceptable.
I have no right, sitting in the state of Pennsylvania that I'm sitting right now, and you sitting in California, me telling you that you cannot do what you want to do. But yet
Exactly.
we have states that are doing that.
Yes.
We have individuals that had a situation happen to them that they didn't want happen, rape, incest,
Right.
whatever it may be, and they're
Whatever it may
being
be.
told they got to carry a birth to term, or they have a miscarriage and they're bleeding out and they can't have the miscarriage aborted. This
Yep.
is ridiculous.
Yeah.
What we put ourselves into is ridiculous, because all of a sudden, and I believe this, I believe it's a war on women. I believe
Thank
that
you.
it's
Yeah.
a whole power control situation. I have a wife, I have a daughter. And after the 2016 election, I saw the handwriting on the wall before he became president. I knew it was going to happen. I was not happy about it, had to live with it for 4 years, and thought that maybe the next administration would make the changes. The
Right.
problem is, here he goes again, and he wants to come back to inflict more damage on this country.
Yeah.
And no one sees that. There's 30% of the populace that thinks he's the greatest thing since sliced bread and canned beer. And I don't understand why they feel
That's great.
that he is so wonderful, because everything he's touched has failed.
Yeah.
Everything everything he's touched has gone into bankruptcy.
Right.
But yet he's a millionaire and he thinks the way I think. Well,
But
he
right, they
doesn't.
see
He doesn't
themselves in
care
him
about you.
somehow.
Well, I think that they think that because he's president, they'll get some of the wealth too.
Right.
And
Because
that
that's
never
how that
happens that
works.
way. Yeah, that's exactly right. It never
Because he's a
works that way.
billionaire, man-made, excuse me, self-made, and he's just gonna give right checks to everybody. I mean, I don't know, because it's literal craziness. It's insanity. It's mentally unwell and unfit. It's yes, it's racism in general. It really is bigotry
It
and
is.
racism. The 30% of people who actually support him over and over again. I mean, there was one guy I saw interviewed by the Daily Show for Jon Stewart, and he was saying, "Well, I wish Obama would have been around for 9/11. Like he wasn't in his office when 9/11 happened."
Yeah,
They don't even know our
they
own
don't.
history. These individuals that
They've
choose to be willfully ignorant and a bigot. And it's just, they don't get to make choices for us, period. And I think it is something that I don't condone violence at all. So when I say fight back, I'm not saying fight back with
right.
fists, but fight back with your brain. Fight in general, and unity, solidarity. Because the enemy of my enemy is my friend. We need to find common ground, and the common ground is that we are all humans trying to live our lives in our lovely America, but this shit keeps happening. We can't
Have,
let it keep happening. We have to vote all these people out that support him, especially
right.
the ones that have the offices right now, because it's fascism. It's literally the definition of. And we
There
know
are,
how. I mean, my grandparents didn't fight in World War II and One back in the day, but World War II, for all this shit to happen again in
right.
America too. Are you kidding me? It's not happening. We
I
can't
know,
tolerate it.
I know politicians that I was once friends with who are
Mm-hmm.
Republican,
Sure.
and they were true Republicans until
Right.
Trump came into office and Trump became that. They became Trump Republicans. I will not speak to them because I've gotten into arguments with them over their belief system, how much it has changed. Well,
Yeah.
it's not changed. It's the same as it was before. I'm going, no, you
No,
explain
it's
to me
not.
why you voting for him. And they
Yep.
can't do it. And my response is the only reason why you're voting for him or supporting him is because you think he's going to get you reelected. It has
Yeah.
nothing to do
Oh yeah.
with the
Tit for
policy.
tat. Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what it is. You are in it for yourself and no one else, and you can't tell me that anymore. And I've got into quite a few arguments with former friends who are
Yeah.
politicians. I said,
We all have.
this
I
doesn't
know.
work this doesn't work this way anymore. And every time you get into an argument with a Trump supporter, they don't have any facts. They just get louder.
Exactly.
And they yell louder and louder, louder. And I just stand there and look at them and I go, okay, I'm not going to change the way you think, nor am I
Right.
trying. I
Right.
just want to give you facts to make you change your own opinion, or
Right.
at least open yourself up to a different opinion. But they're not even willing to do that. I have a
No.
mother that I haven't spoken to in 3.5 years because of that.
I'm so
Because
sorry.
because no, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Because she felt that she's retired, she's getting a government pension, she can get hers, but the hell with everybody else. And the hell with the way things are because we're not worried about anybody else. I'm only worried about me. Well, that's not the way
Right.
this country works.
Blinders.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And whenever he got elected, I said, you have a daughter, do you not realize what this is going to, oh no, nothing's going to change. She's going to be fine. And I'm thinking, you have no
How?
clue what's going on around you.
Well, and
But
that's the willful
again,
ignorance part.
if you start looking at it, you're
Mhm.
looking at these population centers that are ultra red, and they're
Right.
ultra red in certain states. My wife believes, and I'm starting to believe with her, that we're going to see true blue and true red states, and you're going to see people moving back and forth to wherever they want to live because they're tired of dealing with the shit that they have to deal with.
Right.
And you're going to see California get overpopulated with more of a blue electric. And same thing with New York. Pennsylvania right now, we're purple.
Okay.
And,
Right. Yeah.
and,
Important statement.
and being purple scares the heck out of me because I know the center of the state is more conservative than the left and the right. So it will be interesting to see how this plays out, because right now, I think if the independent voter and the undecided voter actually makes up their mind and does what is morally right, there won't be an issue. But I also see a lot of people staying at home at this election and not voting.
Right. There's a lot of people who are, or they're voting possibly for third party, which I don't
Which is a
think is
mistake.
a mistake, because again, I do believe in some like politics going on with that aspect of things, but there's so much, it's like putting the oxygen mask on when you're going down in a plane, or whatever
Right.
metaphor you want to use. You have to put your oxygen mask on first before you give it to your loved ones to help save them. We have to help, yes, where we can in the world, but we also have to help ourselves right now, where we have to have an actual office to operate out of for the leader of this country. We can't have fascists in the White House and then just making it the way they want it into a Christo-fascist, nation. That's Handmaid's Tale version. Like, it's very real that could go down that route. We don't want it to ever, but that's what this election is. So we have to take it as a strategy too. And it's really upsetting and really infuriating when people's hearts, I feel, are in the right place, but they could really rock the vote in the wrong way, where that little percentage we really need could have changed everything. And it all depends. It just depends. I mean, it's so hard. It's so hard what's going on with this election.
I have a few viewers slash listeners that have been listening to my program for years, and they pretty much know what side of the fence I'm on because
Sure,
occasionally I do talk politics. I don't do it as much as I used to
sure.
because it aggravates and annoys me.
Yeah, no,
But
it's stressful and understandable.
but the ones that are listening or watching right now
Hmm.
that are hearing this that are Trump supporters, what do you say to them? What do you say to them to make them understand that we're not fighting with you. We want you to understand this is where we're coming from, and this is why we feel you need to join us in voting in this direction. It may be right for us, it may be wrong for you, but still you need to understand our opinion or
Right.
our motivation.
Well, first of all, you coexist with us all in this world.
Mm.
It's not just your personal nation. This is about everyone who lives here, everyone who pays taxes. And if you want something to keep happening for you in your life, wouldn't you want that for other people? A lot of people don't. That's the problem. So the selfishness aspect, I would say, is I really encourage people to look at therapy, look at how things affect them, and think, I wonder if that was taken away from me, like, I don't know, basic human rights to my body or to walk down the street or to get married to the person I love, if that was not allowed somehow, would I like that? Would that be good for me and the people I love? And apply that to others and think outside the box. Because at the end of the day, we all live together. We all have to learn to coexist. And if you don't, then please go move somewhere else, like on the island, because we do
Right.
not and will not tolerate any hate when all we're trying to do is live our life with liberty and happiness. It's really simple. We're all trying to just get by through the life that we have and to make it the best because we all deserve the best life we can possibly live. Every human being does. If you think that other people are less than you, think again. Do some really hard digging and self-reflection into yourself because that's something that is about insecurity and or it was taught to you and it's not real. It's illogical. We are humans together and we have to find common ground so that we can all live our lives peacefully. But if you want to not have that, then I really don't have any words for you, to be honest, because you're not if you're not willing to help yourself, you're not willing to help others. I can't help you further with that.
Do you feel that some of these people have dug themselves so far into a hole that they don't know how to get out?
Yes, I mean, it is a cult mentality. It really is. When you break down the psychology of other types of cults and you apply it to especially the MAGA people and
Mhm.
community, it is literally the definition of what cults are. It's the psychology behind it, everything. Same with Christo-fascism nationalists who think God and Jesus are the only way, and if you're not, then we're going to, get rid of you somehow, whatever
Right.
their words are. I mean, that mentality is so extreme, but it comes back down to mental health issues and being conditioned in a very racist bigotry way that we have to have consequences of if people choose to act that way, meaning jail time and being arrested for things that you don't get to hurt other people just because you believe you're better than them ever. Would you like that to you if that was happening to you? Of course not. So apply that to others, and you don't get to make choices for others just because you have an opinion. um the only way we can do that and like really apply that is, I think, again, getting the right people into the offices and using the system we have. We may not agree and like the system we have. We do need to update it in different ways over time for betterment of all people, but that's all we have right now, and we need to hold on to what we have, especially the last bit of democracy that's alive right now. And that applies to all of us. So if you're choosing to live in this country with the laws and regulations and rules that we have, we need to get more people elected that are going to have those laws and rules that are going to help everyone and not just condemn the people like Project 2025 would do.
Right. So you're in a non-contested state.
Right.
Um, because everybody assumes California goes blue. Okay, I get it.
I'll tell you though,
How
I
mu-
see a lot of Trump hats more than I wish I saw.
what are you advertising TV wise?
I'm sorry, what was that?
What are you seeing on commercial wise
Oh,
for
commercial
political
wise?
commercials? Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm primarily just watching live streaming devices, and a lot of them don't have ads.
Okay. Lucky
So I'm
you.
not getting I'm getting some local stuff.
Okay.
But there was one we did see the other day that was a racist, I couldn't believe it. I got to find it and post about it. But there is a very racist ad against Kamala. And again, similar to the whole, just like without saying it really, like the Joe and Ho kind of t-shirt.
Right.
Just really putting her race down, her non-credible background, which she has the most credible credentials ever. Just look at history. And it was totally all against her being a woman too. I mean, it looked like a parody, Bill. It looked like a bad SNL type of skit.
SNL parody.
And like the budgets, they don't care about the budgets. And you can always tell I don't know what, but it just doesn't work. And it looks so bad. It's bad content, it's bad words, it's bad everything, and bad writing. But it feeds to some people because they want to hate. They want to hate her.
It's been a while since I've done any research about this, but Truth in Advertising.
Yeah.
That you'll see them put the newspaper article dates or whatever it is, the quote was done, everything else. In Pennsylvania, we're seeing ads that are so out of context.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah. It's not even funny. It is so bad, or the dates are so long ago, like in 2005, 2006, and it's like that's 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I said you can't use those dates, but people don't look at those.
They don't do their research.
They don't do research, and they don't even
Mhm.
look at what's on the screen. They see
Barely.
the big bold print, and they never see the small print underneath it. We have a senator running for office right now, Bob Casey, who's running again, and he is running up against a guy that isn't even from Pennsylvania. He's from Connecticut, and he's a hedge fund broker. And the sad thing about it is they're taking Casey's comments that he made about a previous senator who was rubber stamping everything that was done by the previous president, which was George Bush, rubber stamping it. And he makes a comment going, we can't have a senator rubber stamp everything that's being done. Well, now they've twisted it and made it look like he was talking about himself because he's rubber stamping everything Biden and Harris is doing.
Right. But again, that comes with also critical thinking. You got to use critical thinking. And a lot of people don't use common sense or critical thinking, because if you have critical thinking, you would see that that's obviously out of context. And you don't need to be a filmmaker or know how to edit things, but but that's how they do it. They take little snippets of stuff, and you can make some horrific, amazing things by doing it that way. But there needs to be, I don't understand, and I don't know how it works exactly, but there should be some way of credibility where you're not allowed to there's a word for it and I can't think of it right now, but throw dirt at the candidate like that, and lie. There needs to be the fact checking really needs to be updated for both parties, for both sides. I'm talking about the whole thing. In the interviews, in the debates, all of it. Because if we're not checking these people and putting, an approval of, hey, where did you get that information? Like even the cat and dog lie of being eaten. Where did you get that? Oh, I saw somebody on TV.
I saw it on the internet.
Yeah, okay, that's not good enough because that's not credible sources.
And they've been able to trace that back to JD Vance because he saw a video on YouTube, is what he saw
on
and
YouTube,
he believed
of all
it.
places.
And he told Trump, and it was a parody.
So it must be true if it's on the internet, people.
It's on the internet. And
but again, it comes down to those people who believe it or want to believe it.
Right.
They're pushing it because they're racist bigots who want to continue the narrative because that they don't want those people around, quote unquote. And that's unacceptable. And so I say, I do want to say real quick, thank you for standing up to people like your ex-friend who, I'm sorry, you have to lose, but I've lost friends as well, because you have to. You have to say, we're not going to tolerate this racism, sexism, hate, because it's not true. And you're not going to get away with that just because you think you can or you want to. There needs to be repercussions for your choices and actions like that. There needs to be people having consequences and being, having to take accountability on what you're choosing to say or do, especially when it hurts other people.
Right.
So thank you.
One of the best TV commercials I saw recently has to do with the debate last week.
Okay.
And it was talking, and I don't know if you've seen it or not, dealing with Roe v. Wade.
Oh, no, I have not. I don't know how I'm not seeing
excellent
this.
because the beginning of the commercial, Trump saying how proud he is that he overturned it. That
right.
people have been trying to get rid of it for 50 years, so on and so forth. And then Kamala comes back and she gives her whole thing about rape, incest, miscarriage, and everything else.
Facts.
I mean, and she hits him so hard, and he just stands there and looks, and we get to relive that moment in time where she came back and said, "These are the people that are suffering.
Right.
These are the ones that are dealing with it, not this imaginary group that you think is."
Right.
But again, it's one of those things. How do you justify the billions or the millions of people that they're hurting and that they don't see that?
Right.
How do you justify?
And or you call yourself a Christian who cares about, like, come on, it's hypocrisy at its worst. You can't. You have to call it out. And I know it's scary out there, and you got to be safe. You got to play smart. There's scary situations in a lot of different places, of course. But as best as you can, safely and soundly, especially in the internet, I mean, you got to stand your ground and say that is inexcusable and unacceptable in the 21st century.
Well, Amy, thank you very much. This was a pleasure as always.
You as well. Thank you.
And I really enjoyed this. Again, the election is coming up real soon.
Yes.
Maybe, depending on your schedule and my schedule, we'll get together after the election.
Yeah, no, I'd love to.
All
Let's
that.
figure that out.
And rehash that.
Rehash it. Hopefully it's very good news and we can all have a wonderful holiday to celebrate more than usual.
That's exactly right.
But
well,
just
Amy,
everyone, please go register
to
vote if you haven't, and go vote. It's your right. People have fought for that for years, and it's our right to do it. So please, 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 no matter what, go vote.
Amy, thank you very much.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Have a great night.
You too, love. Bye.
A big thank you goes out to Amy Kahn, joining us this evening, talking about the 2024 election and everything going on in the United States. Thank you again, Amy. I appreciate it. Hopefully we'll have you back on soon following the election. And guys, you have a great night. And thank you for watching and listening to this edition of The Bill Alexander Show.
Thank you for listening to The Bill Alexander Show. The Bill Alexander Show is a $1 Million Baby production. For more information, go to thebillalexandershow.com.